The next panel addresses state of R&D in Lebanon and MENA, highlighting the strategies and policies needed to stimulate innovative research that can be commercialized. Please help me welcome Dr. Nicolas Rouhana, General Manager at IM Capital, and his panelists.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I will call my panelists, but I will introduce their bios as we go along the panel. So by no particular order, first Dr. Sari Hanafi, please. Fadal. Second seat, please. Dr. Hassan Ghaziri, and please, and Dr. Eli Akras. As I said, I will introduce them briefly as I engage with them during this panel. So Dr. Sari Hanafi, Dr. Hassan Ghaziri, and Mr. Eli Akras. And here we go. So two key words actually in this panel. So there's the R&D and the entrepreneurship. Now, just to set the scene and to put everyone at the same level, the R&D is where we pump in money to create new knowledge. And then the entrepreneurship is we take this knowledge and make money out of it. Yeah. So there is this two world where we put in cash to create new knowledge, and then we take this knowledge and pump out cash out of it. And the entrepreneurship part of this value chain, if you will, is where we fund the money, the VCs, the private sector, this 331 BDL money, etc., is pumped in this space where, there is already a market, there are revenues, there is business model, etc. So funding there is available because, there are economics that make sense for the VCs. Now, on the first part, the R&D part, we have less VC money because really is fundamental or applied research where it's more risky and we don't know the product, etc. We're still pumping in money. We don't know if there is a market, etc., or validation. And then, so here we rely on grants or government funding. So for example, in the US, we have federal grants or in the US, they spend like 2% of their GDP on R&D. So that's how they fund, for example, Tesla, the electrical vehicles, or the automated or self-driving cars. So you really need to pump in government cash. Now, in the Arab region, the percentage of GDP, is around like 0.2%, 0.23%. It's very, very, very low. Except some, maybe countries that already have developed some R&D programs, such as the KSA. They have the renewable energies program. In UAE, they have the space programs, and in Qatar, technology for automation, accessibility impaired. So there are some few grants. Few countries doing that. Just to give you a small figure about where we stand as Arab countries in the Global Innovation Index of 2016, out of 128 economies, the Arab countries were absent for the first 40. We're not there yet. And the Arab region is fourth after North America, Europe, and Southeast Asia, and the Asia and Oceania region, with an index below world average. Again, other food for thoughts, patents, patents that come out from the R&D are in the Arab region, over the last 10 years, on average, 3,000 per year. So it's equivalent to one US company, which is Qualcomm, for example. So it's really, really very low. To give an example, Japan averages like between 300 and 500,000 patents per year, just to give you a rough estimate where we are. So this panel, we will try to address this value chain from the R&D and see any recommendation or the state of the art and the recommendations that we can get from the panelists. So I'll start with Dr. Sari Hanafi, which, by the way, he's a professor of sociology and chair of the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Media Studies at AUB. So, an anthropology within a tech environment, so it can give us really an outside view, and very interesting to hear what he has to say. He's also vice president of the International Sociological Association and the Arab Council of Social Sciences. He also has his latest book called Knowledge Production in the Arab World, The Impossible Promise. So really very challenging. So I would like to start with you and talk about the gap that exists, from the R&D to the production or the market, if you will.
Good morning, everyone. Well, what I would say first, make disenchantment against all these figures. I mean, in the Arab world, for instance, the publication in desalination is higher than any other region in the world, but in the same time, we still use the most expensive procedures and machines for desalinations in the Gulf area, in Jordan, etc. So what I argue that there is really a real gap between research, university, and innovation and society. So what I call the broken cycle between these elements. And as I come from university, I can tell you the problem starts from the university. If I look to my university, UUB, you will see that the way the promotion regulation and criteria set, it's against innovation, will not let young faculty to spend time connecting him or herself to local industry at the expense of producing publication in referee journals that usually nobody read them. And we have a statistic that 10 people read per article, okay? So there is a real issue from the university side, how to connect itself to the local society. This is why I publish an article called Publish Globally and Perish Locally versus Publish Locally and Perish Globally. So we need to have scientists which well connected, converse with their peers abroad, but in the same time connected locally. So there is an issue of, I think, in the Arab world of trust of science. I mean, we saw the garbage crisis in Lebanon. How come if, I mean, myself and my student, we went through mass media, Lebanese mass media and social media, and we see that the voices of technical experts in garbage environmentalists are overshadowed by politicians. Of course, garbage issue is a political issue also, so I'm not saying it's only technical issue. But if you like, it's very interesting. Just I will give example. When it was a long interview with the former Prime Minister Slam, and the presenter asked him, "How come you? Where is the expert? I mean, voices. What would they say to resolve it?" And he said, "Well, yes, we ask them, and they give us X, Y, Z solution." But I mean, it's a very interesting that usually in such a crisis all over the world, that you talk on behalf of science. You show that there is first an expertise, and then based on this expertise, you construct your politics. Here it's almost it's mistrust with science and etc. So again, I am addressing to entrepreneurs as my audience today. So don't wait university to come to you. Please go to the university. I think in individual levels you have amazing faculty that would like to be connected and to resist against this hegemonic promotion criteria. So okay, I can say a lot, but maybe I will stop.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hanafi. So I turn now to Dr. Hassan Ghaziri. He's the founding director of BRIC. It's not Brazil, Russia, India, China, by the way. It's the Beirut.
South Africa.
So it's Beirut. It's Beirut Research and Innovation Center. So it's an innovation research hub developing new technologies for issues such as humanitarian demining, low-cost prosthetics, and cardiologic diagnostics. He was visiting professor of machine learning at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Lausanne. He also spent 12 years at AUB teaching information and knowledge management systems. He co-authored a book on knowledge management. Now, Dr. Hassan Ghaziri, so we heard Dr. Hanafi talking about the problem within the university and publish or perish. They are going against innovation, mistrusts of science, and I know that you have your thoughts on the gaps as well between this innovation value chain. And do you have any more recommendation? I mean, we had some recommendation about reaching out to universities for the entrepreneurs. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you, Nicola. Good morning, everyone. As you mentioned, I was a professor at AUB, and I left AUB. And my objective is, of course, to contribute, bridging the gap in this value chain of innovation and bridging the gap between research and development and between the real needs of our society. At AUB, it was not really possible, as Sari mentioned, to do research for serving our society and our economy. And now things are changing. Now a brick is an element, is a component that is trying to bridge research and development from the academic side to the commercial and to the market side or to the supply side. The problem of, it's very important to identify that we have a cycle, and this cycle is broken in our countries, and that's why we have so much difficulties to emerge as a new area of developed countries or doing like what is happening in Europe or the US. And we have a long experience in Lebanon and even in the Arab countries of failing in catching up with developed countries. And the main reason is, as Sari explained, is this broken cycle. Now, in order not to go very, in theory, concerning the recommendations. Now, as I said, I'm not talking about recommendation, I'm talking about something that we have put in place in order to bridge the gap. The problem is definitely a complex problem, and it needs to be tackled at different levels. First of all, at the operational level. What are the problems at the operational level, bridging research and development with the innovation ecosystem? The problem is a funding problem. Do we have funds for research and development coming from this ecosystem? I can tell you no. The answer is no. We don't have money to fund research and development, or more specifically, innovative research. There is no funds for that. According to my experience, and Nicola knows very well that, we at BRIC were developing an innovative research program in the area of humanitarian demining, where we are using, let's say, advanced machine learning techniques for improving the performance of the deminer and the safety of the deminers. So there is a real need for this kind of projects. But there is no way, to develop a solution for this problem within 6 or 9 months. And all VC funds are funding startups that are very close to the market. Let's say 6 to 9 months from the market. And this kind of activities and research and development or innovative research, they need time, and they are, of course, risky. They need time in the sense that it needs 3 to 5 years of development. It is also risky, which means that we need at this level of the value chain people who are ready to take risk, like angel investors, and it's not easy to find them here in Lebanon. So there is a problem of funding. Now there is something new that is happening because our ecosystem is extremely vital and extremely dynamic, and there is a new initiative that was launched by UK Tech Hub, where they are starting to finance this kind of projects that are at the early stage of the innovation cycle. But of course, there are other type of recommendations that must be taken into consideration. I'm thinking about the, let's say, organizational aspect, where we need what is called technology transfer offices that are linking the universities to the market and to the industry and to the entrepreneur. This kind of structures are not existing in Lebanon, and we are starting to put in place something like that. We need also to have a strategic view and to monitor all these activities and to assess them and to strategize. Otherwise, I mean, everybody is doing everything, and I think that our resources are still limited in spite of all our vitality. And there is also the institutional and legal aspect that has to be taken into consideration, because if people are not collaborating together, like, for example, if the people in the industry or the entrepreneurs are not talking to the entrepreneur, to the universities, it's not only because there is a lack of money or lack of possibilities, there is also a lack of confidence. And we have to develop or to create confidence or to construct confidence measures between the universities and between the industry and the entrepreneurs. The most important point is the protection of the intellectual property, where the rights of the innovator or of the researchers, as well as the right of the entrepreneurs, are protected. So this is very quickly a certain number of ideas in order to link and to restore this broken cycle. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ghaziri. Yeah, I mean, as I said when I started, there's more money on the entrepreneurship side than the R&D side. And what I always say, and I know Dr. Ghaziri's, frustration. These guys, they feel like they're on a lifeboat surrounded by water without a drop to drink, because they've seen lots of money around, but then, okay, there's not for them. So yeah, it's a problem, and it's really frustrating the R&D part of the equation. And R&D is very important, because the more we produce R&D, but the more there is deal flow for the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, because we need new ideas, and this is where it comes from, university or applied research. So the more we have new ideas, the more we can spin off, startups and contribute to the ecosystem. So this is really very important. So I turn now to Eli Akhras, who is now program director at the UK Lebanon Tech Hub. But before that, you maybe know him for 8 years in Kafalat funding innovative startups. So now he is heading a new initiative, very interesting initiative from the UK Lebanon Tech Hub called the IRC, or International Research Center. And so I will let him explain this and how, this new initiative will help address some of the challenges that were mentioned by the two panelists. Maybe the lack of fund, technology transfer offices in universities, building this trust between university and going global. Eli.
Thank you, Nicholas. Well, building on what they have said, Dr. Ghaziri and Dr. Hanafi, and even you, Nicholas. So we decided to launch this initiative based on several parameters. So as part of our entrepreneurial ecosystem, so we all hear VCs nagging about the pipeline. We all hear incubators, different stakeholders nagging about the pipeline, the quality of the pipeline. So definitely R&D, applied research, is the answer for them. So we need to support R&D to create really a solid, innovative, good quality pipeline that will eventually graduate unicorns out of Lebanon that will create too much jobs for the Lebanese economy and create value, economic value. So this is initially was our drive to go into supporting applied research projects. So knowing that Lebanon is good in many different areas, if we look into recent reports, the Global Competitiveness Report, we know that Lebanon ranks 19th in the quality of education, 6th in STEM. A very, very recent report, it was launched 2 weeks ago by GEM, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which is an initiative between London Business School and Babson College. So it started in 1999, and the aim is to assess entrepreneurial ecosystems around the world. So you have well-developed economies participating in this. And Lebanon ranks 8th in the total entrepreneurship early stage activities globally. And the innovation indicator under it, we rank number 1. So we have the strength, we have good grounds. However, there are challenges, the challenges you mentioned. So in terms of funding, we know that the funding is too limited through CNRS. So the researchers can't do much about it because they don't have the funds. Universities don't have the resources to fund applied research. The industry in Lebanon is missing. So there are no corporations funding applied research. On top of this, we all know about Horizon 2020, which is a global initiative to support research. Lebanon did not pay the participation fees. Then if we do this as a government, we can get funds, we can make funds available for researchers to work on their projects. So funding is a big issue. The IP is another issue. Commercialization also is a big issue. So this is why the UK-Lebanon Tech Hub, which is a partnership between Central Bank of Lebanon and the UK government, decided to launch this initiative. So yesterday, the ambassador announced it officially, the International Research Center, which the main aim is to support and fund applied research projects. So how does it work? So actually, as UK-Lebanon Tech Hub, we manage these collaboration agreements. So we look for applied research projects locally in universities, and we match them with international universities to collaborate together in developing these projects. And as UK-Lebanon Tech Hub, we fund these projects over a 3 years period, and in hope, after 3 years, to commercialize these projects through our accelerator program, which is an international initiative to take these projects out of Lebanon to the world.
Well, great stuff. So now we have money at the R&D, a bit more money coming from the entrepreneurship ecosystem to the R&D. You're laughing, Dr. Aziri. Any comments?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a very important start. Now, in our situation, for example, at BRIC, we were in the middle between. We are not a university. We are not let's say. When we asked CNRS to give us money, they said, "Okay, our mandate doesn't allow us to give you money." And then we went to Kafalat and other, and they said, you are not very close to the market. You are very far from the market. Come back in 3 or 4 years, and we may help you. Now there is something interesting that is starting, and I'm very happy and very glad that the VCs are starting to understand that this pipeline, of innovation and of new ideas, they need to be fed by research and innovation, or more precisely innovative research, not necessarily academic research, because there is also a difference between the research that is being done in the universities and the applied research, or the research that has to be prepared itself for the needs of the market.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But they are closely connected. I mean, we know in a lot of research in solar energy, need a heavy investment in basic research. So this is why it is important to have the university where you can work without necessarily a close finality. maybe it's a remote finality, but this can be extremely useful in terms of innovation. This is why the connection should be done, and you need forums like this forums. I mean, in Lebanon also, Lira is very important. I mean, Lira, it's a Lebanese institution to connect university with industry, and I think this is also a good platform, if you like, of exchange ideas and even executing some projects there.
Okay, I think we have 5 minutes left. Yeah, we'll open up for a couple of questions. Please, your name and who do you want the question to be asked to?
Okay, so my name is Najib Abu Ismail. I'm a visiting student at AUB. I'm working on a biomedical product that's going to save the lives of millions of people. And it's a wearable device for diabetics that measures glucometer, that measures non-invasively in a continuous manner the glucose level, and it predicts hyper and hypoglycemic events. The story came from my friend's grandmother passed away from hyperglycemia, and my father suffers from diabetes type 1. So I see him measuring his glucose levels every day, like 10 times. I'm pricking his finger like 10 times per day, and it's just my mom worrying about him when he's sleeping so that he does not get any heart attack or whatever. So when we went to EB and asked them because we did our simulation, like first to get the design for the antenna and all that stuff that does do that measurement, we need to do simulation, right? So we did the simulation software, and when we need to implement, we need an RF lab. And when we went to EB to ask for how to use it, we need to use the RF lab to produce our product. They said that they're a non-profit organization and they can't provide startups with that stuff. Where do we go? Especially that my co-founders, they're highly ambitious people, and they want to launch this from Lebanon, right? So I could have took the idea and worked on it in the States, but we need to launch that from Lebanon. We need to start this here. So my question is basically,
So your problem is that AUB is not providing you with the labs.
As a startup, right? Because we need RF lab, and whenever we go for investors, they show us prototype.
This is a wonderful example, also showing the gaps that we have in our ecosystem. We don't have the technological infrastructure allowing those ideas to be realized. Like labs, like technological, labs for applications, not only for teaching students, like fab labs, like prototyping labs, like fast prototyping labs. All these components are lacking in our ecosystem. They exist, of course. There are a certain number of fab labs, etc., but not enough in order to serve people like him. And I'm sure that you are not alone. Many people are, there are a certain number of people in your situation that are not finding the right environment for them in order to realize their ideas, make the prototype, and solve the problem you're trying to do. On top of this, there is a problem of multidisciplinarity, because you need expertise in different areas. Is that correct? Yes.
Where are you at? Where are you at in the project? Just the idea?
Simulation is when you try your design on different parameters, when you vary the parameters to get the right, the novelty, right? So we got the novelty. We have the novel part. We're applying for a provisional patent and everything. But the thing is that we just need to implement that hardware, right?
Yes.
So we just AUB have the RF labs, have what we need.
So if they have, so what's
They do have. The problem is that they said they can't allow us to work because we are a startup. And they are a non-profit organization, so they can't take equity or whatever.
Well, a quick fixer, just contact me, send me an email, and I will raise it, because I am always waiting to find really a concrete case where I challenge my administration at AUB. And so please.
Our product saves every year 2.6 million diabetics pass away from like not being able to predict hyper and hypoglycemia. Our product targets 400 million diabetics worldwide.
Did you talk to the Center of Research and Innovation at the
we are
incubated
we
there?
are incubating there, yeah.
Okay,
but
like, there and there's
yeah,
no problem?
but just we need the labs. That's the whole thing. We have promising.
There are much more ideas than money.
I think Ali can,
One comment, not specifically related to your case, but how are we treating the situations, similar situations? So our first project now we're funding, it's a collaboration agreement between the Lebanese University, CERN in Switzerland, and University of Sogno in Napoli. So in this case, it's a fiber optic sensor system, and the Lebanese University don't have the right infrastructure to collaborate on this. So they have their labs, but they are not well equipped enough to cope and develop further the project with the international partners. So in our case, we're funding technology transfer and knowledge transfer between the partners. So now we're setting up an optics lab for the Lebanese University to enable them work on this project. And at the same time, we're funding postdoc and PhDs between Unisanyo and University of Sogno and the Lebanese University to complement this technology and knowledge transfer between them. So this is how we are trying to fill this gap by doing this, by funding and supporting this transfer.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your effort.
Just one comment. You know that now there will be a new incubator at AUB.
It's working.
It's already working, and
so
we
you
hope
can
so
benefit
far
from
many,
this.
but
This is what.
So they gave me the stop sign. So thank you very much. I mean, we have to go kick us out of the stage. So thank you for the panelists. It's been a pleasure to moderate this panel. And thank you for thank you.